President of Parliament brings forward a letter from the airport employees regarding their discontent with the airport's CEO. Minister of VSA gives entry requirements for visitors. And Minister of Education explains why schools will be reopening in a virtual setting. Those are the headlines for Thursday, August the 6th, 2020. Good evening, viewers. This is SXM Daily News. I am Valerie Van Putten. And as usual, we have a full cast for you this evening, so let's get started. In our first story, the House of Parliament sat in a plenary public session this morning, August 6, 2020, and was held in a virtual setting. The Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport was in attendance to address the following agenda points: decisions regarding the opening of the school year 2020-2021 per August 10, 2020, and the preparedness of schools to start the school year. Also on the agenda point was St. Martin students abroad in general and those who traveled to the Netherlands earlier this week. This meeting was requested by MP S.A. Westcott Williams of the UD, MP M.D. Gums of the PFP, and MP C.A. Bonkamper of the U.S. Party. The Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, Dr. Randall Rodolph Samuel, gave an explanation of how and why the reopening of the 2020-2021 school year will be done online and the challenges that online classes will bring.
When it comes to education continuing, a decision has to be made. I want to go back to March when St. Martin was locked down and no one could move. At that time too, education had to continue and all necessary steps were taken to make sure that educating the students of St. Martin in the best possible manner had taken place. One of the best methods at that time was to educate or continue to educate the people, the students of St. Martin in March, using the method or with the method of distance learning or online learning. After March, we reached to July and then the schools were closed. And after school vacation, the schools will have to reopen and education would have to continue. The situation a month ago, if you look at the situation in St. Martin about a month, 5 weeks, 6 weeks ago, the virus situation, the infections on St. Martin seems totally okay. There were no big alarms, there were no infections. So most naturally, those of us from in the Ministry of Education were planning and had as an idea, if the situation continue like the way it was 6 weeks ago, we could have said to the schools and to the students and to the parents, everyone would go back to school normal because there was no real risk, there was no problems. However, by now, we all know that the infection has increased on the island. And because of the increase of the infection, a couple of things have happened. One is that the measures, the protocols from the healthcare professionals from VSA and from CPS have been laid down. So the situation has changed. And if we are going to approach the opening or the continuing of education in August, which is now, so in the 10th of August, what will happen is that we have to continue education, but the continuing of education will have to take certain issues into consideration. And I have decided to approach the issue by looking at two separate situations at the same time. Education continuing means at this moment that you first have to take the health of all involved in consideration. So we look at the guidelines laid down by our healthcare professionals from CPS and VSA, and at the same time, we look at the guidelines that have been laid down by the educational professionals. How do we continue education? Because we are looking at these two things simultaneously, when you explain we are continuing education, it is confusing for some people. But what I want the people of St. Martin and the Parliament to understand is this. We cannot continue education without taking the health care of the students, the parents, the teachers, and everyone into consideration. So with health first, there are different ways to continue education.
Meanwhile, President of the Windward Islands Teachers Union, Mrs. Claire Elshot, also addressed the reopening of the schools on August the 10th. The Y2 president gave some highlights of what will happen with or will cause concern with the online learning. She also said that another challenge that teachers may have will be getting to know the new students with different challenges in education in a virtual setting.
Let me give you some of the highlights of what will be happening or that will cause concern. For a number of schools, it will be a continued distance learning. Now, in the first phase of distance learning, we know that there were a lot of challenges, and if we will be quite honest, at certain levels of schools, let's say we have compulsory education from age 4 until age 18. So for the youngest kids, we can fairly say it was a total failure in certain areas. Other areas, yes, some parents can say, yes, my children was able to participate because the parents were at home at a time. The island was in a lockdown, and parents could have assisted their children. But even in that case, parents not being equipped with those skills, it became for some parents also a challenge. Now, continuation of distance learning. I've noted that a number of schools are saying that the teachers have to be in school. So they have to show up in school for 7:30, and that the distance learning have been put into programs and into sessions, and this will happen from the school. But in that case, no students will be coming to school. So there will not be any face-to-face interaction with the teachers and the students. That's number one. Nor with the teachers and, let's say, the students and their peers. Because this distance learning package that have been developed of late, it also has components in it that the teachers were not involved in that presentation or preparation. So it is something that is handed down from management, who probably very industrious and very good during the summer break. They have worked very hard on this, but there was no input from the teachers. And now the teachers in these few days prior to the opening of the school will get probably a little workshop here and there how to deal with these programs that have been, curtailed or have been tailor-made for them. In addition to that, a number of teachers are saying that they are now having to give these distance learning classes to students, especially in the lower part of our educational system, elementary, for example, to students that they don't know, because you're opening a new school year. As teachers, you're getting a new class. They did not roll over with their students. And the fact that you don't know these children, when I say you don't know them, you might see them on the playground, but in a class setting, to know their capacity, to know their challenges, what are their different, some children might have problems like dyslexia, or some children might have problems with writing, and even with the speed in which they do things. Some are slower than the others. The differentiated aspects, cognitive aspects in different children. The fact that the teachers are now new to them, you have to do that now virtually. This is also a big challenge.
And at the press conference, which was held earlier today, when asked by SXM Daily News what advice would she give to government, as many are still confused about the reopening of schools on Monday, August the 10th. According to Y2's president, a number of school boards are remaining silent, and only the Catholic School Board officially published their plans and are ready to open. She elaborates further.
What happened with education in St. Martin, we have a number of school boards. We have about 7 to 8 school boards, plus we have private schools like Learning Unlimited, CIA, and it is the responsibility actually of the school boards too, to be able to execute certain plans or put certain plans in place. So far, a number of school boards have been silent about what they're doing, but we have seen a week or two ago, the Catholic School Board officially publish their plans and saying they are ready to open for August the 10th. So to me, the persons that feel that are responsible, or the school boards that are responsible and feel that they have measures in place to protect not only the students, but also the teachers in this whole pandemic, I would not see a reason why you would delay the process, since they have, their children have been out of school with the face-to-face teaching since March the 18th. But in the case that especially a number of schools and public schools that have not, according to the feedback that I'm getting, have not spent a dime, they have not done anything to prepare. But as the teachers are going back these days, they're going in to prepare, then we would see how prepared are they actually, or how prepared are the public schools actually to be open. And this is the one that, these are the schools where the Minister of Education is directly responsible for the, how you would say, the running, for the procedures, the policies. Of course, the minister ultimately is responsible for education in general on St. Martin, but also specifically for the public schools. So I would then believe that over the weekend, once the data is collected of how ready and prepared are the schools for the reopening on Monday, the information would have to be circulated to the parents, because as I inform you, there are schools that have taken measures and said, well, we are having our teachers in, but no students. This have to be clear to the parents so that there's not a mumble jumble of a mix-up, because the names, those school boards should come out clearly identified within not only the news, the radio, you have to publicize it, because some people don't have TV, don't have radio, but you have to make it known in all forms of media to the parents, what are your plans.
And still to come, General Secretary of WICSU PSU gives more information about the cost-cutting measures for civil servants. We'll have the details to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Welcome back, viewers. This is SXM Daily News. I am Valerie Van Putten. As the parliamentary meeting of August the 5th was about to begin, President of Parliament, the Honorable Rolando Bryson, brought forward to the members of Parliament a letter that was signed by over 100 employees of the Princess Juliana International Airport, addressed to the Managing Director of the holding company of PJIAE, Mr. Dexter Doncher, indicating their discontent with the CEO, Mr. Brian Mingo.
To indicate to Parliament, in case members haven't seen it, but also to those viewing, we are in receipt of a letter signed by over 100 employees. This is booked in under IS 1073, addressed to the Managing Director of the holding company of the airport, Mr. Dexter Doncher, from quite a number of PJIA NV employees. It is not quite a petition. It is something that Parliament has been CC'd on, but it is very alarming to me to see this level of vitriol and discontent by crucial workers in a time where we're trying to reopen the country. I would like to just briefly read the last paragraph of this letter. It states, furthermore, Mr. Mingo no longer has our support as he has created a big disconnect with us. He is managing the company poorly. Our professional goals and our drive to move the company forward are not taken seriously. Mr. Chairman, those words are not mine. They are those of the employees of the PJIA NV. I implore the government to immediately get a handle on what is going on with these employees, and will also see with the union, the various unions representing them, to see if they can come and update Parliament as to what is happening.
And as we continue now with more news, we will now continue with more of the press conference that was held by the General Secretary of the WICSU PSU yesterday regarding the cost-cutting measures for the civil servants.
If 50% is withheld, does it mean that the additional 25% will be from that 50%? Because if you remember, the union submitted its counter-proposal on June 1st. And in the counter-proposal, we put forward that what was withheld in 1 year will be repaid 2 years later. So for example, if the vacation allowance is reduced to 50% this year and next year, that means government owes workers 100%, correct? Now, that 100% would have been divided over 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. So it means then that instead of getting 100% for 2022 to 2025, workers would have gotten 125%. In this particular proposal, there are no guarantees. It will end up in a similar situation as a cost of living allowance. When you recall, the unions have been lobbying for the cost of living allowance and indexation for years. And what has been a common chorus and narrative from government? There is no money. So we see that a precedent has been set, that they can easily say, we have no money, so therefore, chances are you will not get it. And that in itself can create another unfortunate situation for workers. But let's move on. Overtime allowance. As described in Article 6 of the LMA and Article 39 of the rechtspositioning or the legal position for police officers, it will be cancelled in its entirety. So that means if you work the additional 1 or 2 hours, instead of getting that little extra, you will now be compensated as though you're working regular hours. Okay? According to the draft, the Minister of General Affairs can, per ministerial decree, identify certain groups that can enjoy or be rewarded with overtime compensation. There will be no salary increments for 1 year. It states here from the 1st of July 2020 until the 1st of July 2021. At the same time, information reaching our office suggests that workers, there's a possibility that workers did not get the 2019 salary increment. So in essence, because a salary increment is about 2%, okay? If you have to capture it in monetary terms, it's about 2%. So that means it would have been 2% from 2019, 2% 2020, so that's already 4%. Remember, they're going for 12.5% allegedly. And I have to say allegedly because with a constant shifting of measures and information and figures, it's quite difficult to keep up at times.
And as we continue now with more news, the government of St. Martin has regulated the prices of petroleum products by imposing a maximum price at which wholesalers and retailers can sell these products on St. Martin. Due to the ongoing developments internationally, the prices of crude oil have experienced adjustments upward for ULG. The general public is hereby informed that as of today, Thursday, August the 6th, 2020, at 6 a.m. this morning, the maximum consumer price of ULG was increased and has been amended as follows. For ULG, the current price was 1.685, and the new price is now 1.721. For gas oil or diesel, the current price still stands at 1.195. Now, turning to our weather forecast for August the 6th, 2020. Pockets of moisture at the lower level of the atmosphere cause a few passing showers this afternoon. However, tonight, a slight increase in moisture associated with a weak tropical wave will cause cloudy periods and isolated showers through the latter part of the forecast period. Seas will remain slight to moderate during the next few days. The outlook through Saturday midday, partly cloudy with a few passing showers possible. Now, let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, President of Parliament wants to know what is the communication like with regards to the issuance of the travel requirements. And we'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
Welcome back, viewers. And as we continue now with more news for you at this time. At the continuation of the parliamentary discussion regarding the Ministry of VSA guidelines for reopening the destination to international travelers, which was adjourned on June 29th due to absence of the Vice Chairman and could not take place in accordance with Article 9 of the Rules of Order. However, the meeting was reconvened yesterday. In his opening statement, the Honorable Minister gave the travel entry requirements for visitors.
The travel entry requirements for visitors. All arriving passengers, visitors must, 1, complete the online health pre-clearance declaration available on www.stmartinentry.com. That is st.martinentry.com. Print a copy of the present and the countries detected with invalid COVID results will be subject to mandatory RT-PCR nasal testing upon arrival by the medical professions. Persons traveling from high and moderate risk countries above the age of 10 must upload lab results of a valid negative RT-PCR nasal/oral COVID-19 test completed within 72 hours prior to arrival to www.stmartinentry.com. That is www.stmartinentry.com. Persons must walk with a copy to present at the health checkpoint upon arrival. Travelers from low-risk countries do not require a PCR test if they can provide they have not visited a high or moderate risk country within the last 14 days. These travelers will be exempted from uploading the test result on www.stmartinentry.com. All travelers are subject to thermal screening and temperature checks upon arrival.
And President of Parliament, the Honorable Rolando Bryson, posed a number of questions regarding the testing of COVID-19 cases on the island. One of the questions the President of Parliament wanted to know what is the communication like with regards to the issuance of the travel requirements?
What is the communication like with regards to the issuance of the travel requirements? So the minister outlined those travel requirements. How is that communicated to the world? How does that communicate to the traveler? What are the avenues we have for doing that? I can imagine that has a bit of collaboration to do with Justice and also with TIAT for civil aviation and so. But if the minister can just explain a little bit on the communication to ensure that people visiting know in advance. I believe there's a website as well. That information to get to the travelers, it's very important that they have an easy way to access it. Can the minister outline that communication medium?
And still to come, the Power of Knowledge motivational lectures return to the Phillipsburg Jubilee Library. We'll have the details to that story when SXM Daily News returns. And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for you this evening, viewers, the Power of Knowledge motivational lectures return to the library. During the month of August, the Phillipsburg Jubilee Library will offer a special list of motivational speeches which are part of the existing Power of Knowledge series and which will be posted on the library's online platform. For the next Power of Knowledge lecture for this year, the library has invited Mr. Rolando Tobias and Mr. Lenworth Wilson. Mr. Wilson will speak on how to process the past, practice good habits, and prepare and plan for the future, while Mr. Rolando Tobias will speak on financial planning and budgeting. These sessions will be broadcasted on the library's Facebook page and in the local media starting August the 11th, 2020, and ending in the last week of August. And with that, viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for you for this evening. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you so much for joining me. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you so much for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.